The Nevada wind screamed across the alkali flats as Jerry Whitmore crawled through the sagebrush, his hands mangled and useless from the dynamite blast, his assayer's tools scattered across the desert behind him. Blood seeped through the makeshift bandages, leaving a crimson trail in the dust. Each movement sent waves of agony through his shattered fingers. But the alternative, lying down to die, wasn't something Jerry could accept, not even now. At 57, the former territorial mining assayer had tested thousands of ore samples, prevented countless fraudulent claims through honest analysis, and spent 24 years bringing scientific integrity to the chaotic world of frontier mining. His reputation for meticulous work had made him both respected and resented throughout Nevada territory. The mining companies valued his expertise, but chafed at his unwavering commitment to accuracy. In a land where fortunes were made and lost on the strength of an assay report, Jerry's refusal to bend the truth had earned him powerful enemies. But he'd never expected to have his hands blown off by his own mining partners, betrayed for the crime of refusing to falsify assay reports that would sell worthless claims to Eastern investors. "You're too scientific for frontier mining, Whitmore." Partner Kellerman had sneered as his hired thugs strapped the dynamite to Jerry's hands. The memory of Kellerman's cold eyes haunted him now as he dragged himself forward. This territory's got no use for assayers who can't tell the difference between facts and profit. Kellerman, with his tailored suits and Eastern education, had always presented himself as the sophisticated face of their partnership. His connections with investors in Boston and New York had brought capital flowing into their operation. But beneath the veneer of respectability lurked a predator who saw the mining boom not as an opportunity for honest wealth, but as a chance to fleece the gullible. The profit had been Kellerman's scheme to salt worthless claims with high-grade ore, then sell shares to gullible investors back east based on Jerry's falsified reports. When Jerry discovered the fraud and refused to sign bogus assay certificates, Kellerman had decided that a tragic mining accident would solve his problem permanently. Should have stuck to testing rocks instead of testing loyalties, Kellerman had laughed as they lit the fuse, his voice carrying over the desert wind. "Maybe the coyotes will appreciate your scientific method." The explosion had been calculated, enough to destroy Jerry's hands but not kill him outright. Kellerman wanted him to suffer, to die slowly in the desert with the knowledge that his principles had cost him everything. The partners had left him for dead, assuming no man could survive such injuries in the merciless Nevada wilderness. Now Jerry dragged himself through the bitter brush and alkali dust, his ruined hands wrapped in torn shirt sleeves, his vision blurred from shock and the merciless desert sun. His throat burned with thirst, and each breath drew in more of the fine alkaline powder that coated everything in this desolate landscape. The horizon wavered in the heat, making it impossible to judge distance or direction. In the distance, he spotted a cluster of buildings beside a creek, the first sign of civilization he'd encountered since the explosion had destroyed his life. The sight gave him renewed strength, and he forced his battered body forward with desperate determination. The trading post sat at the junction of two mining roads, surrounded by corrals and outbuildings that spoke of a thriving business serving the scattered prospectors and mining camps of the region. A weathered sign swung in the hot breeze. "O'Malley's Trading Post and Supply." Smoke curled from the stone chimney, and the sound of a hammer striking metal came from somewhere behind the main building. Jerry collapsed at the hitching post, his blood staining the weathered wood. He tried to call out, but his parched throat produced only a raspy whisper. The world spun around him as consciousness began to slip away. The door opened to reveal a woman in her early 50s, her red hair faded to auburn and streaked with silver, her blue eyes holding the sharp intelligence of someone who'd learned to read both ore samples and human nature with equal skill. She wore practical clothes, a simple blouse and long skirt covered by a leather apron stained with chemicals, and moved with the confident efficiency of someone accustomed to handling any crisis the mining frontier could produce. "Sweet Jesus," she breathed, taking in Jerry's condition. Her gaze immediately went to his mangled hands, assessing the damage with a professional eye. "What happened to your hands?" Mining partners, Jerry gasped through gritted teeth, fighting to stay conscious. My own partners tried to kill me. The woman, he'd later learn her name was Bridget Breedy O'Malley, helped him inside without hesitation, calling for someone named Thomas to fetch water and bandages. Her trading post was well organized and prosperous, with shelves lined with mining supplies, foodstuffs, and tools. In one corner stood a small laboratory area that suggested someone with technical knowledge. Glass beakers, scales, and testing equipment arranged with methodical precision. "Your own partners did this?" she asked, examining his mangled hands with surprising gentleness. Her fingers moved with practiced skill, cleaning away the dirt and blood to reveal the full extent of the damage. "Caught them salting claims," Jerry managed between waves of pain. "Didn't appreciate my honesty." Bridie's expression hardened with recognition. She'd seen this kind of systematic violence before, the calculated brutality of men who use technical expertise as cover for their fraud. "Bastards," she muttered in her slight Irish accent, "always ready to destroy what they can't corrupt." For 4 months, Jerry drifted between consciousness and fever, while Bridie tended his wounds with a mixture of frontier medicine and knowledge she'd gained from years around mining camps. The infection nearly killed him twice, and delirium kept him trapped in nightmares, where the explosion happened again and again. Through it all, Bridie's steady presence anchored him to reality, her voice cutting through the fever dreams with practical commands and occasional Irish curses when he proved a difficult patient. She couldn't restore his hands, too much had been destroyed, but she managed to save his life and help him adapt to using the stumps that remained. With patient determination, she taught him to hold cups, utensils, and even simple tools using the remaining portions of his palms and wrists. Each small victory, buttoning a shirt, writing his name, measuring powder, became a triumph over Kellerman's attempt to destroy him. When Jerry finally sat up clear-headed, he found Bridie testing ore samples for a group of nervous prospectors, using equipment and techniques that demonstrated genuine expertise in metallurgy and chemistry. Her trading post was more than just a supply depot. It was an unofficial assay office where miners could get honest evaluations of their claims without traveling to the territorial capital. "You know assaying," he observed, watching her precise measurements and careful analysis. She worked with the confidence of someone who understood both the science and its practical applications. "I know enough to spot fraud when I see it," Bridie replied, recording her results with scientific accuracy in a leather-bound ledger. "Out here, an honest assay can mean the difference between fortune and ruin." Her story emerged slowly over the following weeks as Jerry regained his strength. Bridie had come west with her husband, a mining engineer who'd taught her the technical aspects of ore analysis and claim evaluation. They'd built a successful consulting business until claim jumpers murdered her husband and tried to steal their client list. Rather than flee, Bridie had fought back with Irish determination, eventually establishing her trading post as a place where miners could get both supplies and honest technical advice. "Men think an Irish widow can't understand chemistry," she explained one evening, organizing her laboratory with professional precision. "They learn different, or they learn to take their business elsewhere." Jerry told her about Kellerman's conspiracy, the salted claims, the years of honest service repaid with treachery. He described the elaborate scheme to defraud Eastern investors, the threats when he refused to cooperate, and finally the brutal attack that had left him crawling through the desert. Bridie listened without judgment, occasionally nodding as if she'd heard similar stories before. "This partner Kellerman," she said finally, her fingers tracing the edge of a testing flask. "He thinks science is just another tool for theft? He thinks I'm a fool for believing in accurate analysis, too rigid to understand that assaying is about telling investors what they want to hear, not what's actually in the ground." "Maybe he's right about one thing," Bridie said, her tone thoughtful as she stared into the lamplight. "Maybe the old way of mining is finished. The lone prospector with a pan and a mule can't compete with companies and capital. Question is, what are you going to build to replace it?" Their partnership began when a group of desperate miners arrived with ore samples that had been giving conflicting results from different assayers. threatening to destroy their partnership and their claims. The men were on the verge of violence, each accusing the others of tampering with samples or bribing assayers. Jerry's knowledge of metallurgy, combined with Breedy's practical experience and laboratory skills, allowed them to identify the problem: deliberate contamination by a rival mining company trying to force them out. "You still know your trade," Breedy observed as they watched the miners celebrate their vindication, the tension between them dissolved by the truth. "No chemistry, no geology, know how to read the truth when samples lie," Jerry replied, awkwardly manipulating a test tube with his damaged hands. "Out here, that's still worth something." Word spread through the Nevada Territory about the trading post at Copper Creek Canyon, where Breedy O'Malley and the crippled Assayer could solve problems that had stumped territorial mining authorities for years. Miners brought samples from hundreds of miles away, seeking honest analysis and practical advice. Claim disputes that might have ended in bloodshed were resolved through careful testing and clear explanation. They developed a reputation for integrity that extended from the Sierra Nevada to the Utah border. More importantly, they found in each other something they'd both thought lost: intellectual companionship, shared purpose, and the deep love that comes from working together to bring honesty to a dishonest business. Their relationship grew naturally from mutual respect, blossoming into something neither had expected to find in the harsh Nevada wilderness. The confrontation with partner Kellerman came 18 months later. He arrived with territorial mining officials and forged documents claiming Jerry was mentally incompetent due to his injuries and needed to be placed under Kellerman's care as his former business partner. The real purpose was transparent. Kellerman needed to silence the one man who could expose his ongoing fraud. "There's the old cripple," Kellerman announced to the officials, pointing at his former assayer with a silver-headed cane. "Living in isolation with some Irish barkeep, probably can't even hold a test tube anymore. It's a mercy to take him back to civilization." Jerry emerged from the trading post, no longer the broken man Kellerman had tried to murder. Hard work and purpose had strengthened his spirit, while finding his true calling had restored his confidence. His hands were gone, but his mind was sharp, and his voice carried the authority of genuine expertise. "Kellerman," he said calmly, standing straight despite the phantom pain that still haunted his missing fingers. "You're looking prosperous. The fraud business treating you well?" "Don't get smart with me, Whitmore. I'm here on official territorial business. These gentlemen have papers declaring you incompetent." Kellerman's smile didn't reach his eyes as he gestured to the uncomfortable-looking officials beside him. "Official?" Bridie stepped out beside Jerry, a shotgun cradled in her arms. Her expression was calm but determined. "Funny thing about that, I sent some telegrams to friends in San Francisco and Denver. Seems the federal government's been investigating mining fraud across the territories." Kellerman's confidence wavered as he realized they'd been building a case against him for months. Bridie's connections throughout the mining industry had provided access to records and expert testimony that painted a clear picture of systematic claim salting and investor fraud. The territorial officials shifted nervously, suddenly uncertain about their role in Kellerman's scheme. "This is a setup," Kellerman sputtered, his hand moving toward his gun. "You can't prove anything." "No," came a new voice from the canyon rim. "This is justice." A federal marshal rode down into the canyon, flanked by territorial investigators and several angry investors who discovered Kellerman's plan to defraud them through falsified assay reports. They'd been tracking his conspiracy across 3 territories, waiting for someone with the credibility and courage to come forward with evidence. "Jeremiah Whitmore?" the marshal called. "We've been looking for you for over a year. Your testimony could break open the biggest mining fraud case in territorial history." The confrontation ended without violence. Faced with overwhelming evidence and expert testimony, Kellerman's network of fraud collapsed completely. His conspiracy had reached far beyond the original salted claims, involving systematic deception of investors and theft of legitimate mining properties across the entire region. He died in federal prison 2 years later, still claiming he'd only been trying to develop Nevada's mineral resources. "Deal better?" Bridie asked as they watched the federal party disappear up the canyon trail, Kellerman in handcuffs between two deputies. "Feel useful," Jerry replied, flexing his damaged arms. "For the first time since they destroyed my hands, I feel like I'm protecting honest miners instead of just enriching thieves." Their partnership deepened into something more profound than business or convenience. They established a mining consultation service that served the entire territory, providing honest assay work and technical advice to anyone who needed it, regardless of their ability to pay large fees. Their reputation for integrity attracted clients from as far away as Colorado and California, while their willingness to stand against corruption earned them the respect of federal authorities. "We make quite a team," Bridie observed one evening as they sat by the creek, watching the sunset paint the canyon walls in brilliant oranges and reds. The day's work was done, samples tested, and results recorded with scientific precision. "We make a laboratory," Jerry corrected, taking her calloused hand in his scarred stumps. "The kind that's built on truth rather than lies, on science rather than speculation." At 59, Jeremiah Whitmore was no longer the broken-down assayer who'd had his hands blown off by corrupt partners. He was a guardian of mining integrity, a protector of honest prospectors, and living proof that expertise mattered more than physical ability. His testimony had helped federal authorities prosecute dozens of fraudulent mining schemes, while his technical knowledge continued to serve the legitimate mining operations that were building Nevada's future. The desert that had nearly claimed his life had instead given him purpose, partnership, and the chance to use his knowledge for something greater than mere profit. And Bridget O'Malley had found something she'd thought lost when her husband died. Not just love, but intellectual partnership with someone who saw her technical knowledge as an asset rather than an oddity, who understood that the most valuable ore was the trust between partners who refused to compromise their principles. Together, they'd carved out their own piece of the American dream in the rugged beauty of Nevada's mining country, proving that sometimes the people society discards become the ones who maintain the highest standards. Their trading post became a beacon of integrity, Copper Creek Assay, where honest analysis and scientific method went hand in hand with frontier practicality. The ore wagons still rolled past their canyon, carrying silver and gold to markets across the expanding West. But now they carried something else as well. The knowledge that there were still places where truth mattered more than profit, where destroyed hands couldn't destroy an unbreakable spirit, and where two people who'd been written off by the world proved that the richest veins are those that run deep with honesty, respect, and the unwavering belief that some things are too precious to be bought or sold.